Well, late today, NBC News confirmed that Biden called Booker after that interview to smooth tensions, but stood by his remarks. Meanwhile, several prominent legislators out there have defended Biden, notably U.S. Congressman Jim Clyburn of South Carolina, the highest-ranking African-American in the House of Representatives, who invoked another infamous segregationist. Clyburn told Politico, "I worked with Strom Thurmond all my life. You don't have to agree with people to work with them." For more, I'm joined by Zerlina Maxwell, Senior Director of Progressive Programming for SiriusXM, and Michael Steele, former RNC Chair. I guess I'll start with Zerlina about this. What do you want to be said now? Here it is, Thursday night. This thing started 2 nights ago. Is this got legs? I think it has for the weekend. But what should be done now by the Democrats to move somewhere with this positively, if that's possible?
Look, I think that this is a moment where the other Democrats that are not Joe Biden saw an opportunity to draw a contrast with Joe Biden. I think that there are generational differences with how people see whether or not you should be willing to work with people who literally deny my humanity, or whether or not you should stand up and be an outspoken advocate. So I think in this moment, Joe Biden should take a hard look at the impact of his words. It's not really the intention, whether he meant to be racist or whether he is racist. That's not the question. No one is claiming that. What critics like myself are saying is he was tone deaf in his remarks, and he should think about the impact of those words on the communities of color that are being directly hurt by Donald Trump's policies, and policies going all the way back to those segregationists. So I think it's a disconnect between where the party is right now and where Joe Biden is, and he's going to have to reconcile that.
Michael.
Politically, I'm looking at this and I'm laughing because I'm saying, if this is the fight you want to have now, just wait till this sucker heats up. And Trump is going to sit there and ride this horse all the way to victory in 2020. Okay, so set that aside for a moment. All of this apologizing for things that during context, place, and time. All of that matters. Where was the outrage then? Well, it didn't. It wasn't there because this was not how a lot of people looked at the politics of the day. You know, Chris.
I was there.
You know a lot. You were on the Hill. You know a lot of well-regarded Democrats.
I know what it smelled like when I got there in the morning in the 70s, and all the cooking was Southern cooking. They ran the Congress of the United States, these Southern grandees and seggies, the guys that voted against the Civil Rights Bill, ran everything. They ran appropriations. They ran armed services. They ran judiciary. They ran it all.
So the question becomes today, how does a Joe Biden articulate and have that conversation? I don't think it's something the country's overly enamored about or care that much about at this point in the summer. But it is a lesson in politics for Joe to recognize how they're going to come at him and how they're going to make him account for a time and place that no one else. I mean, does Barack Obama now take back his eulogy of Senator Byrd when he said that, Robert Byrd, that over the arc of his 92 years sort of bent towards justice? Really? The former,
Grand
Poobah, the Ku Klux Klan?
Yeah, I know.
So, I mean, this is the slope the Democrats are finding themselves on, and I think it's a dangerous one.
It's a real debate. Well, some in Biden's orbit have reportedly warned the president in the past against referencing segregationists, and former Senator James Eastland, for example, in particular. According to the Washington Post, one Biden advisor said it might move him to pick a different senator. But he's not someone you can go to and just say, you've been doing this X many of years and you can't do it anymore. Politico reports a campaign source said invoking segregationists has been a point of contention, but there's only so much we can do. This is his decision. I agree with you, Zerlina, and I know how it sounds, and I do also know that I went back and read, because I knew about Ted Kennedy as a young senator 10 years before. I had to go up and sit there and drink scotch in the morning to the point of getting looped. So this guy would give you your committee assignments, because this guy, seggy as he was, decided what subcommittees Ted Kennedy got to sit on, and you had to bow down to that guy to get anything, because it was an oligarchy in those days. Well, your thoughts too. I mean, you know this from history. You were young, but this all happened. You know what happened. They were running the place. Your
Yeah,
thoughts?
I mean, I wasn't here for it, but obviously I've read the books. And I have to say this, though. I think that, you know, it both shows that Joe Biden has been around a very long time. So when he talks about, I was there when we passed the Voting Rights Act, as a millennial, that's like, whoa. It reminds me
Well, he
of
wasn't there. Actually, he's wrong. The Voting Rights Act was 65. He came in 73.
He's talking about
Some
the early 70s.
restorations of it, yeah.
But when he's name dropping that does seem like a very a large disconnect between where millennials are on these issues and Joe Biden. But I think that, you know, I'm not laughing, Michael. I don't think this is funny. I think that the conversation that we're having actually is serious. I think that, you know, the gaffe that Joe Biden made is minor in its context, but the larger conversation about race relations in this country, the impact on communities of color, the Trump administration's policies, like caging children, or most recently where he said he doesn't regret saying the Central Park Five, who were innocent men, should have been executed. Those types of things have a real impact in the real world. And the Democrats need somebody who can actually stand up and fight back against that. And claiming that you can compromise with people who deny your humanity is not representative of a strong and vocal advocate. That is what I am saying. No one's calling Joe Biden a racist. No one is denying that Joe Biden has worked on these issues.
If you were a legislator,
it's just saying that he has to understand the time we're living in.
I'm with you completely. I understand this, and I'm going to say at the end of the show, Biden better learn how to talk like a 2020 Democrat, not a 1972 Democrat. He's got to learn how to talk, because he'll be speaking for the Democratic Party if he's lucky enough to win the nomination. But back to the question, what would a senator do? It's hard for you, a woman of color, you know, of your age, to imagine this, I guess, luckily for us all. But you walk in the United States Senate and they say, here's the deal. You want to work on civil rights, you got to get on the Judiciary Committee. You want to work on immigration, you got to get on the Judiciary Committee. And the chairman is this old Seggy who sits around looking at oil maps all day, but you got to go into his office at dawn. What would you have done?
I'm going to tell you a secret, Chris. As a woman of color in the year 2019, I have to navigate spaces and deal with people who don't think that I am equal to them or as smart as them or as capable as them. So people of color, women, we have to deal with this type of dynamic all the time. We have to deal with people that, you know, don't agree with us on issues or have abhorrent views to our literal existence and humanity. So I'm not saying that you would not eventually come to some sort of compromise and push forward legislation. What I'm saying that in the Democratic primary, he's not in office. He's not in the Senate. He's talking about back in the day when he used to have a more civil tone with people who were segregationists. And that's the problem. It's not the idea of compromise. It's the fact that you're talking about it with such tone deafness in this moment where it just seems like you're out of touch.
We'll see. It's a great debate. Thank you, Zerlina, for being a big part of this. And thank you, Michael Steele. Up next.